Activate your millionaire mindset using your head and your heart. The right mindset coupled to a super healthy body. So we're talking about getting your head, your heart, and your health in the right place for you to move forward, for you to achieve every single thing that you desire, want. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, and welcome. Welcome to Activate Your Millionaire Mindset. What are we covering in this episode? This episode is very interesting. It's our curse. Let me start that again. It's our blessing and our curse with our health. And what am I talking about here? Our health, our body, our machine is the most incredible machine. We have all been given an Olympian body. Now, some people might look at their body and say, this body is not an Olympian body. You were given an Olympian body. What you've done with your body and how you've treated it and what you have put into it or not put into it is the reason your body is where it is at the moment. But we've all been given an Olympian body. Think about that. When you were born perfectly. The system, the process, the plan, when you actually look at what our body does, and think about this process. How well have we as human beings that are pretty smart been able to duplicate our human body? Oh, we've tried certain aspects. Yes, and when certain parts go wrong, we've not improved them, we've found ways of transplanting them, and you lose a limb, they can put an artificial limb on there, but it's artificial. We've not been able to actually recreate what we do. Yes, there's this whole, some people say, David, what about cloning? Yeah, there's an aspect of cloning, but it's not a mainstream big thing. Our body, I'm not going to go into too much detail on this kind of thing, but we have been given a perfect Olympian body. And here's the challenge. The lifestyle, the drugs, the sex, the rock and roll, what we do, what we don't do, literally determines the body you have at the moment is the one that you have chosen and planned and done. And some people will look at their body and say, no, I didn't. Yes, you did. Yes, you did. It's very simply about you and your lifestyle. And that's why I've titled this episode, Our Blessing and Our Curse with Our Health. Why? Because it's a blessing. Our body is a blessing. Now there's a curse to that in our health. What's the blessing? Here's the blessing. And think about this. Like I said, we've been given a perfect Olympian body, but here's the blessing. We misuse, abuse, neglect. Think of all the words that you do to your body. Overuse. No, it's not important at the moment. This is more important than looking after my body or eating healthy or whatever it is. So the blessing that we literally have with our bodies is, fortunately, and this is the blessing, the bad things we do to our body, and it's also the good things, by the way, but let's deal with the bad things. The bad things we do with our body do not impact us immediately. Now think about this. That one cigarette that you smoke doesn't cause lung cancer. That one beer that you drink does not cause cirrhosis of the liver. That one hamburger that you eat does not cause a heart attack. That one donut that you eat does not cause sugar diabetes. Think about that. It's not one. And this is the blessing, which also turns out to be a curse, which I'll cover shortly. The blessing is that the one that we take is not going to move the needle. And there's the curse of it and the blessing. The blessing is literally by doing one thing wrong, you don't have the consequences right here, right now, boom, heart attack, stroke, sugar diabetes, cancer, whatever you look at. It's not, this is our blessing, that it is, our body does not react to us doing something wrong once, or conversely doing something right once. Our body is an extremely resilient machine, extremely powerful. You need to abuse it for a long time. Look, depends what the abuse is, okay? But generally, in our lifestyles and our health that we do and don't do, what we eat and we don't eat, this takes decades. I mean, I've got a friend who's similar age to me, in her 60s, and overweight their entire life. And about 2 years ago, the body eventually said her lower back, the disc in this person's lower back literally said, enough. And the disc ruptured. Whole lot of problem, a whole lot of pain, a whole lot of, I won't go into the details there. But that was not because of being overweight for 1 week, 6 months, a year, 1 decade, 2 decades, 3. It took 6 decades before this person's lower back said, enough. And then the same person about, I don't know, 4 or 5 months ago, woke up one morning in excruciating pain, couldn't get out of bed. Enough. Body said, enough. I've told you, slip disc, you're still overweight. Enough. And how many people do we know that abuse their body? That's just one example. It's one example I can think of, you know. And then people say, but why? Why did I have a stroke? Why did I have a heart attack? Why am I diabetic? Well, you've been abusing your body for forever. There's somebody I know as well who's not a healthy individual, overweight, drinks, smokes, and has a high-stress job. What would you call it? I don't want to call it a walking disaster, but literally, at some point in time, the body's going to say, enough. You've abused me enough. And here's the interesting thing with abuse to our body. Abuse, neglect, overuse, whatever you want to call it. You don't know when it's going to happen. You don't know when their body's going to say enough. And that, by the way, is part of the blessing. That's part of the blessing, that we can literally continue to misuse, neglect, overuse, and abuse our bodies in whichever way you want to look at it. The drinking, the smoking, the drugs, the sex, the rock and roll, whatever it is. And this is the blessing, by the way. This is our blessing. It takes generally a long time for this to manifest itself. So let's talk about the curse. Here's the curse. And this a lot of people don't want to hear. We are all going to die. Yeah, none of us are immortal. We're going to leave this physical frame and we're going to go to the eternal, which we won't get into that space. That's a conversation for another day. What happens when you transit from this physical realm to the next realm? And here's the thing. That date and that position and how we go is never determined for us. It is determined, but we don't know about it. And this is the curse. It happens, bam, heart attack, stroke, diabetes, pick a disaster. I've actually seen in my family, my father had a stroke. And they're ugly. They really are ugly. And they happen at the most inconvenient time. My father was actually at somebody's birthday party and he had a stroke. And they had to call the ambulance and get the guys there. And it literally put a little bit of a damper on that person's birthday party. Look, for my dad, it was the beginning of the end, if you want to say. He didn't plan that. He didn't want it to happen. And this is the curse of our health and us not knowing. Because people, like I keep saying, use, abuse, neglect their bodies forever and ever and ever. And then when it happens, bam! That's the curse. The curse is literally, it will happen because we all going to get to that point. And I love this. At some point in time in your life, you're going to take your last breath. You don't know when. And you don't know how long before that bam happens before you take your last breath. Sometimes, and a lot of people don't realize with strokes, 50% of patients with strokes live and 50% of patients die. And this might sound cruel, might sound really cruel, but sometimes the blessing for the patient is for them to pass on. Because I've seen firsthand, my dad lived for 4 years after his stroke, and wow, take a stroke, cancer, heart attack, diabetes, whatever it is. And here's the thing. Let's look at diabetes. I know one individual, diabetic, uncontrolled diabetes. They had to remove his foot because of uncontrolled diabetes. Who's to blame? Who's responsible? Them. There's the blessing. It didn't happen overnight, but there's the curse. Bam, got to the point and said, you got a choice. And that choice you actually don't want to have when the surgeon looks you in the eye with a painful look in their face and say, you've got a choice. When you want to live, we need to remove your foot or a limb or whatever it is. Generally with diabetics, it's a foot or a limb, depends on how bad it is. Or you die. You want to live, we need to remove that. Or you don't remove it, it'll get gangrene, it'll poison you, it'll kill you. Nobody wants to have that decision to make. Nobody. And that's where I'm saying it's a blessing in that it doesn't happen overnight. Look, this person's not a youngster. And then there's the curse. Bam, it's going to happen. Sometimes without warning. Well, when I say sometimes without warning, the body normally warns most people. But what are they doing? They're too busy doing other things and they're not listening. They're not listening. They're not educated. That's where the curse comes in. It happens without people knowing about it. Bam, out of the blue. I know of somebody who was very successful at what they did, extremely successful, worked for one of the big corporates, and I don't know who's to blame or who to point the finger at. Let's not even point the finger. He was that good that the company literally said to him, we're going to double your salary and we want you to stay. That's how we keep you in the business. That's how we want you to stay. We're going to double your salary, which they did. What they didn't tell him is that your stress level will go up 3 times, which it did. The man died at the age of 47 from a heart attack. And this is not a unique situation, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. That's just one story that I personally know of. Yeah, the blessing was it didn't happen overnight, but the curse was, bam, it happened. Massive heart attack, dead. Dead. And I paused there for you to actually think about that. That's the curse. You don't know when it's going to happen. Keep abusing, keep misusing, keep neglecting your body. And at some point in time, you will take your last breath. That's it. That's it. Game over. No more. Can I have, no, that's it. Game over. And like I said in the beginning, we have got the most amazing machine. Our body, when you look at it, is just so spectacular. What it does, man, it's just awesome. And here's the challenge. How do you feel? How do people feel a lot of the time? Physically, emotionally, mentally, all of those things. But very much from the physical side, how do you feel? And quite often your body tells you. So that's literally what I'm talking about here today. The blessing, our blessing and our curse. Our blessing is we've been given the most amazing machine. And it can take the most amount of abuse for years and years. I know one person, whenever I see them, they've got a cigarette in their mouth. It's going to bite them. How long? I don't know. They don't know. That's what our blessing is. Most amazing machine can take years and years and years of, not years, decades of abuse. This person I'm talking about that's a smoker has been smoking for decades. There's the curse. When does it go? Enough. And what does it do? Does it manifest? How does it manifest itself? It might just manifest itself as a massive heart attack and the person passes away. And this might sound really cruel. Sometimes that's the best thing for the patient, not for the friends and family. That's traumatic. Absolutely. I look at it with my dad and his stroke. When he'd passed away with that, it would have been traumatic. Partly because I was the other side of the world working on a ship. That would have been devastating for me. Look, it took me a long time to process that because I wasn't there when my dad had his stroke, or actually when he died. Both of those events, I was on the other side of the world. Not good. Not good. So be aware of this blessing and this curse. And the question I ask you is, when you know this now, because you can't say, I don't know it, you know about the blessing and you know about the curse. Here's my question to you. What are you going to do about it now? Not tomorrow, not next week, not next month. What are you going to do about it now? And a lot of people say, yes, that blessing and that curse is, one is not going to move the needle. So one on the bad side and one on the good side is not going to move the needle. The difference is when you go to the good side, yes, it takes a while to get results, but you're on the right path. So don't say, this one workout at the gym or this one healthy meal or this stop smoking or stop drinking is not going to make an immediate difference. Yes, it will, because it changes your mindset. And that's what it's about. I will leave you with this. Activate your millionaire mindset and stay safe, stay healthy, stay blessed. And most importantly, remember, you are light. When you like what you've seen or heard and it's brought value to your life, please like, comment, subscribe, whatever platform you're on, or subscribe, like, comment, whichever it is. Please do one of the three, or ideally all three. Peace be with you.